Well, hello. We're here to do it again. Welcome back to Frightreads Author Talk. Yet another author talk, as always. We're a little later today, which is completely cool. We had to work with some time zone changes. Most of the people that we've chatted with have been on the East Coast. Our 8 o'clock is their 8 o'clock, and it all checks out. Um, Sometimes we get the distinct honor and pleasure to work with somebody on the other coast. So right now it's kind of it's still daylight. As you can see behind me, there's nothing. Usually there's a little bit of light source behind me. Um, it's a little late at night. It is 10 o'clock East Coast time. One of the guests that we've had scrolling past here, I actually was talking to the booth that produced her film. Um, it's going to be really awesome. Um, I will preface this with Jane is feeling a little under the weather. So to fill in the gap and kind of alleviate some of the pressure for her singing voice and whatnot, I conned author Brian Paoni to come back in once more. So now that we got a couple of views, I'm sure that the live stream is actually streaming. Let's go ahead and bring in Jane, followed by Brian Paoni. So, hi, Jane.
Hey, Harry.
And hello, Brian.
Oh, geez.
Brian, do you pronounce it? I thought it was all these years. I've thought it was Brian Paone.
I know
Not
everybody
Paoni.
does.
Which one is it?
Paoni.
Pony.
It is.
Brian
You
Pony.
never corrected me.
Well, who's going to correct Jane Jensen? Jesus Christ.
Yeah, who's gonna do that? You just let it go.
There's some people that just got to pass. I think Martin Atkins calls me Brian Paone every time he sees me too, and I just kind of let that one go,
All right.
least
Well,
I get
I'm going
the
to see
Paone.
Martin in July.
Oh, really?
I'm staying at the museum while I'm there
Oh,
doing a
you?
show,
Oh, cool.
and I'm gonna correct him on
Yeah.
the pronunciation of your last name as soon as I see him.
Okay. Yeah.
That'll
So,
teach you.
yeah.
So, Jane, you were a guest that I was super excited to announce, and it was such an interesting, the dominoes landing in place because this guy down here in the bottom box, Brian, Brian Paone, Paoni,
Whatever.
whatever, Paoni,
I'm a Paone.
Paoni.
Paone.
Paone.
It sounds Italian no matter how you say it.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. You just randomly went, hey, my buddy Jane would be a cool guest. She was in Tromeo and Juliet. You've heard of that, right? And I just kind of went, yeah, I'm familiar with TROMA films. I am, and I'm familiar with that one. For anybody that has never seen that film, it's got the guns in it. The guys that are doing all the DC movies and cartoons right now. So it's kind of cool. It's a unique film. And that's really, I think that sums up any TROMA film. It's a unique film.
They are unique films. Yes, they
So
are.
you had mentioned that this was a friend of yours, and I was like, of course she is. Why not? You just have this like weird connection with just different facets of people. And I'm just like, of course you do. And then lo and behold, here we are. I think a lot of people were just like over the top. I was even talking to the guys at the TROMA booth this past weekend.
What
and
was
they
the
were just
event
like,
this last weekend, Harry?
this was Monster Mania. It's a horror convention that happens like 2 or 3 times out of the year between here, Pennsylvania, and Jersey.
Did you go as well, Brian?
No, I did Monster Mania with Harry in November.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was in Pennsylvania. So we had booths where we were, smelling our crap.
I want to say hi to Teague. Hello, Teague Excepcion.
Well,
So you say
I
that
can do
last
this.
name right, but you can't. Mine's only got 5 letters.
I have no idea if I'm saying that right. She'll let me know one day.
We've only known each other since '97. I mean, let's do the math on that. 20, 30
That's all of
years.
the years.
You do the math.
That's
you like.
all of the
If you
years.
choose.
Yeah, so the TROMA guys were like really excited. And they were like, "Oh wow, that's so cool! Like, we're going to be at the event, right?" And I was like, "I think you are. Lloyd should be bringing his goon squad along.
Oh
I'd
yeah.
imagine.
So is that happening? Yes or no? Will Lloyd be there?
Lloyd, well, according to my conversation I had on Sunday,
Okay.
Lloyd is in. That's through a
Mhm.
separate entity that I dealt with.
Okay.
So Lloyd is in. And his I guess his merch and video and all that other stuff that they usually cart around in a van. I'm allocating space for them. They're gonna have a whole bunch of awesome stuff, and you're gonna be neighbors with Lloyd, so it makes sense to keep you all together.
Awesome.
Sorry, Brian. The DeLorean Fun Squad, super fun corner. It's gonna be
Yeah.
Will
down.
the DeLorean be there?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
We are going right in, Brian.
I hope so.
Do it.
Yes, we
And
are.
and
I've
you,
been
if you
waiting
want
to
drive
ride
it,
in that car for how many years?
I know. I'll let you drive it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh boy.
I haven't
So
even let Harry drive it yet.
yeah. So I think out of the cars that we have, the only one that I've driven is the Ecto One. And I don't think I've driven this Ecto One, to be very specific. We have two in the group, and I've driven the one from the 2016 film, but the one from the 1984 movie hasn't been
You guys
touched
are talking DeLorean speak. It's
No,
going
it's-
over
Well,
my
this is for
head.
Ghostbusters, for the Ghostbusters movie.
Oh.
So the Ecto One from Ghostbusters, I've been behind the wheel of. A Jeep is a Jeep, so we'll just say I've been behind the wheel of a Jurassic Park Jeep. Um, I've driven a Jeep, so same difference, just with dinosaur logos on it. Yeah, I'd never driven the DeLorean. I've even driven the Supernatural Impala from the show. I've even driven that. I got to park that. That was a terrible car to drive. I definitely want to own one. The windshield is about this big.
Oh,
It's great.
yeah. No,
They're so low risen. It's fantastic though.
I can see you're surrounded with a lot of Ghostbusters memorabilia back there, Harry.
I like it just a little bit. It's one of my passions. I'm actually one of the founding members of our local chapter, the Charm City Ghostbusters.
Really?
So we're going to have them. They're going to be bringing a giant setup. They'll have the Ecto One for people to kind of hang out with and take pictures. But I think that they asked me how big is the loading dock and what can we bring in it. So I'm concerned with what kind of setup we're going to get. I do know that a 40-foot Stay Puft Marshmallow Man is owned, so that's
That's exciting.
a possibility. Got some people saying
Hi,
hello.
Diana.
Yeah, well, we're going to have a whole bunch of stuff. There's a local haunted house called Hera's Nightmare. They built a haunted house facade.
Oh wait, I wanted to ask you. So do you go into haunted houses, or are these houses that are set up to scare around Halloween? But do you also do encounters in homes and places that are rumored to truly be haunted?
You talking to me?
I am talking to Harry
Oh,
about
okay.
his
So you're
his-
talking about as the
his
Ghostbusters?
side hustle in ghost busting.
So the Ghostbusters is just dressing up like the characters from the movie. But about a dozen of our people in our team actually do the ghost hunting.
Do you do that, Brian?
I got into it after I spent the 8 weeks at the prison writing the new book. So
Right. I was going to ask you about that. That had to
After
be
you did your time?
really creepy and would definitely give me nightmares.
Yeah, so I wasn't into ghost hunting before that, and I wouldn't even necessarily say that I'm, like into it now. But I wrote a horror novel about a ghost hunt gone wrong, and writing the whole book inside the Missouri State Penitentiary over 8 weeks alone at night in the dark, and it's a very haunted prison, gave me a different appreciation for people who go into these places to, actually investigate and hunt ghosts. So
Yes,
it has opened my eyes to a world I didn't even know existed. Here I am, just a stupid little author who wanted to write a horror book about ghost hunters getting trapped inside of a prison, and next thing I know, I'm like rubbing elbows with some of the guys who are on TV and stuff. So it's just it's wild, like just how deep it goes. And
so you become a stupid little author that rubs elbows with fancy ghost hunters.
Yeah, that's on my resume, actually. That's at the bottom.
Yeah, mine just says stupid little author.
Yeah.
No,
Just you,
nothing,
that's all
nothing
you
followed.
get.
Shout out to Adam Baum too. Hey, Adam.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been bringing up anytime somebody pops in, says hi, try to bring them over. But yeah, when Brian was telling me, because Brian, you like industrial music and a lot of that genre, and I do too. We started sharing some of the names that you've toured with and people that you've played with, and I was just like, oh my God. I was like, I know all of these bands. This is my favorite part. But the absolute just list of people that you've gotten to play with, and then we had a probably a 40-minute discussion while you were trying to figure out which Crow soundtrack that you
Jane
got.
was on.
Oh man, that song, I think it was called Meet Again.
Yes,
And
there's Meet
I
Again.
did that. Well, that was a collaboration. Was it a collaboration or did they write it and I just sang it? I think they wrote it and I just sang on that. Hey, David. I'm a huge David fan, so there.
There you go.
What? Let's see.
Yeah, because you were it was the only vocal track on the soundtrack. The rest of it's the score.
That's
And
right. I was so happy to do that. It was a really beautiful song. And I'm blanking on the composer's name, but he went on to do tons of fantastic horror stuff.
I have at my fingertips. Hold on. You keep talking. I'll
Yes. He's amazing.
So what's cool is that particular Crow movie. So really funny story about my watching of The Crow. The first Crow movie was not the original, was not the Brandon Lee that I saw. Okay. It was actually Salvation, which was the one that you did the part of the soundtrack for.
Right.
And I even said, he's like, I don't know, it's one of the other ones. It wasn't the first one. And I was like, okay, well, you got like a 1 in 4 shot or something, however many Crow movies there are.
I just know the song really, really well. I just forgot what movie it went.
But it ended up being one of, oddly enough, my favorites, because it was the one that I managed to get a copy of the VHS. That's right. Kids, VHSs were these things that you used to have to stream, and you put it inside to stream, and you had to rewind the stream.
You put it inside to stream.
And then you had to rewind the stream.
Yeah.
But I happen to have that.
Beltrami? Am I saying that right? Marco?
Yeah, Marco Beltrami.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. He's done so many soundtracks. He's super talented. That's the only time that I worked with him.
Yep.
Was around that period. I worked with him on another track, but it didn't quite happen. But Meet Again. Yeah. That was really
but that ended up being one of my favorite Crow iterations. Because it was the first one that I got a hold of. You know, I got my first paycheck and I was like, ooh, I'm buying something and I want to buy something kind of edgy. And I guess The Crow was the first thing that popped into my head. That was
the first edgy thing that popped in your mind. Yes, that was really cool. And Jim Cordillo put that together for me. So I have to say thanks to Jim in case he ever tunes in and listens for putting that, hooking me up with Marco and that soundtrack.
And that came out that came out right around the Burner album. Like it was relatively in the same time frame.
Probably
that Burner came out. Like it was like 1 or 2 years either before it or after.
Before, definitely before. It
was closer to Burner than it was comic book horror. I know that. Like
it was there was some time.
Because I felt that Angel off of Burner reminded me a lot of Meet Again. It just had like the same kind of
I always it seemed to do have some sort of very mellow, almost ballad-esque, dreamy song on an album. There's always seems to be one.
That was I think that was one that I had God, let me look at my last listen to. Well, I had Burner was the last album playing, but I had Miss You was playing. Guarantee you my sound will come up and then Facebook will just be like, you can't play that. Body Tree. That was playing.
Bodhi Tree. Yes, I did. And that's a whole left field situation there.
Yeah, and that was playing in the shuffle, and I was like, okay,
it's kind of weird when those songs pop up because they
not a good driving song.
What?
Not
a
a
good
good driving
driving
song.
song because I'm just like, it's so relaxing.
Right, yeah. It's a whole album of meditation music. So
Yeah, but
it
Yeah,
it
doesn't
works as a
quite
whole.
gel with
yeah,
what?
yeah,
It works as a whole. Like the Enchant EP works when you listen to it from start to finish.
yeah, yeah.
Right, but not mixed in with
Yeah.
everything else that
You're
I
gonna
You
go
like
from
can't
like
go
for
from,
sure.
Astro
Top
USA
Four
to, yeah,
yeah,
it's just sort of like, what's going on?
They
Right.
clash. They
yeah.
definitely clash.
But that's the
But,
beauty
you
of having all music on shuffle.
know.
It's a
Yeah.
real wild card sometimes, but it
Mhm.
is kind of nice because instead of it, because I hate to listen to like the top 5 songs on Spotify for an artist, and those
Yeah,
are the 5 that you hear over and over and over again.
right.
I actually got to talk to one of my favorite bands is Royal Republic, and they did a Ask Me Anything or something, and they said how come their song Getting Along is their top song, and I said because it's the first one Spotify plays all the time, every single time it's their top song that they play.
Yep.
And they were like, because it's been on our set list, we just thought everybody really loved it. I was
It's
like,
just
no,
there.
it's because it's the first one that Spotify will shuffle.
Mhm.
So it's
Yeah,
kind of
I've been on some compilations recently, and I realize um, if you get the first or second, well, especially the first slot on a compilation, every time you reload it,
yeah,
doesn't pick up usually where you left off. It just keeps playing that first track over and over. So it is a very
yeah.
prime spot to get number one. Thank you, Michael. Rockin' Highway 90.
Yeah.
That is a song that is in the current set for the shows that I have coming up.
Oh,
So,
Right
that's
on.
so
That's a
good.
good
oh,
song.
Michael, I hope you can come out to a show.
Yeah,
Do
I'm
that's
you,
losing
that's
my
playing
voice,
today.
folks. I'm trying to hang in there. I know it doesn't sound very good, but
so
but yeah.
Jane, I have a question. Are
Yeah.
we ever gonna get Privateer Part 2? I've been waiting since like what 2002, 1 or whatever when that came out. It
Yeah,
very clearly says Part 1 on the cover. Like
I
that.
know.
It's
That
totally
was such a
different.
theme, Brian Paoni. It was, I was watching the Washington documentary with my son the other night, and, there was a time when I was just sort of really consumed with I think it was, when Bush was in office and we
Yeah.
were all mortified and, trying to get him out of there. And, so I did that, very, also kind of a left field collection of songs. And I wrote a whole um, graphic novel, a comic book to go with that, which I don't think will ever see the light of day. But
What?
I'd love to find it and read it today, all of these years later.
I
And
would love to publish it if you
Yeah.
ever want to.
so that character that was on the cover of that
Yeah.
artwork, if you remember, she could
Yep.
go back in time
Yeah.
and, counsel these founding members of our country.
Hmm.
But it's quite possible that it was very terrible.
It's funny.
Um,
It could be. We don't know. I see.
but anyway, I'd like to reread it myself.
Well, I mean, "Truth Is" one of my favorite Jane songs. Like, I just have always been.
Oh, yeah,
Uh,
that was a little bit different. It did get tacked onto that collection of songs,
Yeah.
but it was that was a very, post Dolls
Yes.
song. It was when I was working with Roger Chi, and we were in the studio, we were doing doll stuff. I was playing a lot with the dolls. I think we were at Electric Lady Studios, and it
Mhm.
was just one of these nights, and we just had this loop. And so that's one of those songs, kind of like Love Song, where it was just like,
Yeah.
let's do this.
Right.
And it was, one take vocal, and that was that
Like
song.
lightning in a bottle, though. You
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
because I love that like the Dolls Rock EP came out, and then Privateer came out like right after it, and the juxtaposition of the two are just
Yeah.
so awesome, right? I mean, so
Yeah.
I just wanted to use the word juxtaposition in the interview tonight, so that's all. I'm done. I can
There
leave.
it is. All right.
That
Thank you
is
for coming.
funny.
Good job here, son.
The box.
Yeah, but oops.
Hey,
But then,
Michael J. Carasquillo. It's just fun. It's fun seeing my friends pop in here.
so
So
I have a question. The one album And again, this is coming from somebody who's known you since the first record, and also, you know, we've been friends for almost 30 years. I always felt that My Rockabye is the anomaly of your discography, right? And not like Enchant is different because that was supposed to be like a meditative record. Like there was a, but My Rockabye album is like it's kind of like you being like, you know what? Fuck electronics. I'm gonna write an acoustic record, like from start to finish, you know. And it has so much like different personality than the rest of your catalog. And I find that when I do put your songs on shuffle, because that's usually how I listen to you, when My Rockabye songs come on, they don't feel out of place,
Really?
even put against like Comic Book Horror stuff or Burner stuff, or even you know, the Trusty stuff like that. It fits. Like, you know, it doesn't feel like it's you know, it's like, oh my God. But when you listen to the album as a whole, you definitely can tell that you were in a different mindset. Like there was, you know, it was a snapshot in time of, you know, like a way of thought of writing. So I might be completely off the mark, but I feel that album just has this like specialness to it because it's like the you know, the redheaded stepchild that still gets along with the other albums and still plays in the sandbox, you know?
Yeah.
Hello, David.
Oh, hi, David. I love
David
David.
just dropped into. So yes, that is an anomaly. You're right. And my plan was to just do an acoustic album from start to finish. But you know, and that's how all the songs were written. To this day, I can I can just sit down and play all of those songs.
Right.
That's how that was written, just on my acoustic guitar. And I did do a thing where I did a series of shows, just me and a drummer, Brian Fields. We did a few shows. I think I did a couple shows with a full band to represent the album, but mainly Brian and I would just do, and that was a lot of fun. I kind of wish I would have stuck with it and really got what I was visualizing across. I don't think I ever truly did. I was kind of expressing what I was going through, moving from the music industry in LA and New York to Indiana and getting married and starting a family. And so I just switched my perspective on everything and took a whole different musical perspective as well. It's not my favorite album in retrospect, but I still like a lot of those songs, especially Saturday Night, which is if I do an acoustic set at Frightreads, and the thing that I'm working on is called the Murder Ballads That Led to My Redemption. I will do Saturday Night, and that song was a song that James Gunn really took a liking to, and he used it in his film. Oh gosh, what was it? With the creepy Slither. He used it in Slither
yeah.
in Pam's death scene.
So is that song available like anywhere for people to hear its full version, or is it just in a snapshot in the movie?
Oh, Saturday Night is on My Rockabye.
Oh yeah, the song Saturday Night.
Yeah, the song. It's also on.
When you said Saturday Night, I thought you meant Saturday Night at Frightreads. Like I thought it was a sentence.
No. She's gonna play Saturday night. Saturday morning.
Oh, goodness. I'll see. I got distracted by David mentioning me in the movie I'm in that he was the director.
We'll get there. I think Todd had a pretty fun question because that's always that oddball question. Who would you play? Now, I don't know if Todd means like a show, like a concert, like play alongside of their band, or have them play along with you, because that's two different worlds.
Well, it would be one of two. It would either be Al Jorgensen or Bob Dylan, and they're so completely opposed.
Yeah, they are.
But you know, I've certainly been a huge fan of Al, and that first Ministry album is what really pulled me into loving industrial music and learning about all of the other bands and making so many friends in that world. And then my relationship with Bob Dylan is just a very personal one. I'm a really, very big fan. I seem to like turn to his music when things get really difficult.
Yeah, yeah. It's he has some pretty good songs. It's stuff you can just mellow out to. Um, that's really good. So
Mm.
Brian, you jumped ahead with David's film
Yeah, like,
role mention.
if anybody doesn't know David or recognize his name, I did not know who this man was until 2017, I think was when I met him. And I spent the whole night with him. And David is one of the most amazing, nicest people that I've ever met in the film industry. Like, that man is just, I can't say nicer things about.
I agree, David Calliope.
I mean, I
100%.
wish he did. I wish he lived closer, because he's the type of guy I would go pick up in the DeLorean and go hang out with.
You never picked me up,
David, come
DeLorean.
meet us in September. And I gotta say hello, because I see my sister's in here. My sister Elizabeth dropped in. Hi,
There we
sis.
go.
Oh, what made go off on that and more docudrama songs?
Jim
in the
Jones
future?
song.
Oh, Jones, yeah, that was a really fun one to write. And yeah, I've had a long-standing interest in murder ballads.
Who doesn't?
And
Like Nick Cave. Like Nick Cave.
Yeah.
what? Probably the first one I ever heard was Folsom Prison by Johnny
Mhm.
Cash, and I love singing that song. I love playing that song. It's my karaoke song if somebody pressures me.
All right. Well, we're twisting some arms.
But so Jim Jones was kind of written like with that in mind, to just to tell a longer story like that, and same with Saturday Night. Those were kind of just in the just reflecting my love and interest in murder ballads.
Well, we're gonna twist your arm at Fright Reads after party, because we always have karaoke. You can ask Brian.
And
What was
somehow
good?
Brian sings Dancing Queen every time. I just like
There-
that's what happens.
Dancing Queen happened? Who
Oh, I
was the kid
cannot
singing? Was he
wait.
singing in it?
You guys didn't tell me there was going to be a karaoke party
yeah.
What was the kid
after.
singing that he was?
Oh,
I don't want to say the word poorly, but it was
Oh,
not
God.
good.
I don't
Was
know.
it Ministry? Was that what he was singing? Because it was
I don't
one
remember
band.
what I don't know
And
what
he
he
hung on to that band for dear life. And we were just like, oh no, it's happening again. And he would just poorly deliver whatever. It was one band that he hung on, and I feel like it was Ministry. But it was just
who are we
No,
talking about?
some
Sorry,
guy
Harry,
at
I
the Fright
missed
Reads
you.
after party last year when we
Will he be there this year?
preferably not, but I'm pretty sure he will.
He cleared the room.
I think he was affiliated with somebody that does go to the after party. So yeah, we might be graced by his presence, and you can be entertained. That's the word I'll use. Entertained.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay. I love to be entertained just
Yep.
as much as the next guy.
Well, that's a long one that just popped up there.
Oh, it's Dave. Dave's a talker.
Yeah, I was like, that's a big in there. Yeah, listening to comic book horror is like hanging out with an old friend.
Oh, I love that, David. And I have albums I feel that way about. So that's a giant compliment. Thanks. I really
That's always
appreciate
good,
that.
because I have songs that I listen to that take you to a specific time or place. And not a lot of songs do that, but that's really cool to hear that. Like, that's just reuniting with an old friend. Let's see what else is David got?
And we are old friends, so.
But musically, when you just listen to it, it just takes you to a specific place. And that's always good when a song can do that. Letting you know about
I'm going to look for that album, David, that you're just suggesting there.
Yeah.
I'll keep an eye out.
We got a
for that.
question here. Let's see. What's the most haunting sound or song you've heard? And which song gives you comfort? Sound or song? It's an interesting question.
There's a song that is on regular rotation on probably my favorite music podcast, or is it Mixcloud? It's called Situation 47 with Melody Hoare and Sphervy. And they play this haunting, beautiful song called damn it. No, I'm not remembering it right now. Because it's newer to me. I've only heard it recently, but I've been pretty bewitched by it. But anyway, so let's see. Let me look at that question
So
again.
how about comforting?
The most haunting sound or song that you've heard.
Well, you said Bob Dylan.
Well, I'll tell you, there's a song called Erase by a band called Delta S. And it's kind of like a dark romantic industrial song. I probably listened to it 100 times. I really love it. It's one of the most beautiful songs I have ever heard. So if you like industrial music that's also beautiful and creative and romantic, not so much grating to the ears, but just like stunning production. It's called Erase by Delta S. It is such an outstanding song.
And that's your comfort song?
Yeah. I listen to it a lot. You know, sometimes you want to listen to a song that will make you cry. This song can do that, you know.
I have so there's a friend of mine. So I used to do music way back in the day. But you see, it's under his. Get the name, the actual proper name of it. But it's a buddy of mine, Brad William Cox. I'm trying to pull it up here. There we go. Good Lord, fighting for my life here. So
I should say my song Erase that I was just plugging. There are two versions of it. The first time I heard it, it was with a male vocal. There was a revisiting of the track with a female vocal that didn't hit me the same way. So if you're out there looking for the song, I would go.
So the male vocals is
vocals,
it. Well,
that's the one that works for me.
So
Okay,
a friend of mine, Brad William Cox. That's how you can check him out on Spotify and what have you. Dude's been doing music forever. He partnered up with a fellow musician and did a song called "It's Not Goodbye." And when you mentioned a song that you just listened to that you also just need to get a good cry out or just be in your feelings for a bit,
yes,
that's it. And it's just one of those songs where you're like, huh. And I've talked to him about it, and he said the more it gets listened to, the deeper it becomes. And I don't think that they intended it to be as deep as the meaning that you can derive from it, because people have talked about, you know, this is a song for when a family member dies. They've heard that, and you're just like, ooh, yeah, I can see that. Or for a breakup song, or you know, you're just leaving, you're just going away for a while. Like, it literally just pops into every box. And when he came out with that, I think over the holidays or around the new year, it played constantly, and I was like, wow. I was like, and this is you? Wow. And it's just one of those songs.
Brad
Yeah.
Williams.
Yeah, his band's pretty good. They do kind of that 90s alt music style. Funny story, we actually we spoke to each other because we met through books again, and we were talking about bands that we've had in the past, and our bands actually played a week apart at the same venue, and we remember seeing each other's bands poster. That's small world. Like, I remember you guys, you know.
What was your band poster, Harry?
My band at the time was it was Zero to the End, and we were kind of.
Well, that's a good
I
name
know,
for
right?
a band.
God, I wish it went somewhere. I was like,
it's a good song title as well.
It's a good book title.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a great book title.
And it might I might fictionalize like a music story or something and use that. But Brad's band at the time, Schizo Calypso. How do you forget a band like that? That's a band name that sticks with you. You go, wow, that's a really unique name. His band was playing, and this was at the Wrecker Theater, which now has reopened. It had closed for a good decade and a half or so down in the city. But small world when you just meet people. But his music is just, I mean, I think he's a few years older than me, but I mean, constantly evolving, constantly growing, and he's been churning this sound for probably the better part of 25 to 30 years, and just constantly developing, and it's just fantastic. Every time he comes out with a new album, you're just like, wow. And then that particular song, it was just, he has it's a duet, and when the two of them are just singing together, it's not goodbye, and you're like, oh, you just get the chills. Yeah, it's a good song.
That's what you want to get.
What's your go-to? Is it REO Speedwagon, Brian?
Me? So
Oh
yeah,
man.
so I mean, it's really know it's true, Milli Vanilli always. I mean, that's
Yeah.
right. No, but if we're talking about like serious, like we're actually giving serious answers, there's a band called Vava.
Okay.
Oh, I
Yeah,
remember
and their
that.
song "Bluer Than Midnight" probably is the most earth-shattering 3 minutes of music I still have ever heard in my life. It's just it's like when it's over, you're like, yeah, and I'm done. Like that's pick me up. But Jane, I did want to ask a question, like, because putting you in the hot seat here. So you have some songs that are like deeper than deep cuts, right? Like deeper than deep cuts. So your song "Honeybee," if you like, why was it never
Craig always loved that song, man.
it's such. Why was it never
What's that?
like properly released on a record? It's such a great song, and it's one of those things that, like, unless you're a Jane fan and you go through like fucking Narnia and go out the other side, that's when you find that song. So
Yeah, Craig never forgave me for that. He
it's a
loved that
great
song.
song. I mean, I have it saved as comic book horror extra track because it doesn't go on a record, but in my own personal playlist, that's how I have it labeled, because it was around that time. But I was like,
Daisy Chain was another one. Yeah, so that one, the only reason it just didn't seem, it seemed a little too like funky and sexy for the album, in my opinion. And it wasn't that I didn't like the song. I loved it. I loved singing it. I loved writing it. I just thought it was, for something else. And then it just never found its little spot. I mean, I think I did release it on a limited basis.
That's how I have it, because I went,
Yeah, I did, and I'll still sometimes put stuff
Right.
out and then pull it. But I found it's getting harder to pull things now. It was really great, when I first started releasing things independently, you realize, oh, I can change my mind.
You can be George Lucas and just completely change the song if you want. Nobody will know.
Add some CGI.
Right. And then I got, so one more song I want to ask you about, and I've been debating whether or not to ask this, because this could go one of two ways. We could either lose all of Harry's followers, or you might never talk to me again.
Those three people will get over it.
I have a feeling I know what it's going to be.
Okay.
No, I don't.
If there's anybody like listening that's like 16 and younger, like, put fingers in your ears for a second. Do you know what I'm going to say? Okay,
you're in bed, Brian. It's
so why isn't that song like officially like put out, right?
Man,
that was a great. It's a great. Again, I have it on my playlist too, like in parentheses, because I think you gave me a copy of it, like on a burnt CD, maybe.
I get regular emails. Hey, where's that song?
Yeah.
I heard you play it live.
Yes.
Where's that song? Where's that song? Where's that song? And I guess maybe it never was released at all.
I know that
maybe
my
that song was
copy,
never released.
The copy that I have, and this is why I think you gave it to me on like a burnt CD, because it doesn't seem mastered. It's a rough mix. You can tell really that it rough, just like you leveled the instruments that sound somewhat appropriate, and then I think you gave me a copy of the song.
Right.
Yeah.
We used to close when I was touring for Comic Book Horror and the Dolls. We closed every single show with a song called "Little Devil," and another song
Right.
called Blowjob Barbie. And people would go absolutely berserk. And it was a lot of fun. But it just always seemed like a really full-on Dolls song. It didn't seem like it would fit with something that I
On
could
your
just
own.
release
Yeah.
on my own.
Oh, it feels
Jane Jensen.
Blowjob Barbie feels like it should be on the Dolls Rock EP. Like it just fits there. Oh, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, yeah. And then I also got a lot of email when the Barbie movie came out
see
a
if
few
you
years
see
ago.
if they would put a song called Blowjob Barbie in it.
Well,
But
some of the soundtrack, I mean, why wouldn't that fit in?
And then there's
Right.
Monster Island, which is kind of another triple deep cut, you know, that you put out. You know, so
yeah, those were fun. I was writing with Roger Chi and Sandy Brackwell. And Sandy and I, it didn't ever matter what Sandy and I were doing. We were just having a blast. If we worked together, I'm sorry, I have a cough drop now. But anyway, so yeah, we wrote Monster Island together, and we wrote Blowjob Barbie together. We wrote Fast Girl USA together.
they're all
A
fun
lot of
songs.
fun.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're all definitely.
We had another song called Little Lamb. That was really hilarious. It was fun. Booterella was a super fun band. We had a great time. That was what we were called before we were the Dolls.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, Harry.
I was looking to you because you had like some kind of checklist or something.
No,
You have these questions.
You know, I just figured that there's probably other people watching who know these deep cuts too, and you know, might want to know.
Yeah.
You know, if we're ever, you know,
I don't know. Some people just don't go back quite
only
that
me.
far.
Like I'm the psycho. Right?
Those are songs that you would know if you went to a lot of shows. And you know, because they weren't released, but it does go to show how memorable they were just from a live show.
Yeah, and so, like you know how I met you is kind of an interesting story. I don't know if you remember, but you played with Moby in Boston, or outside Boston.
How could I forget that? I could never forget playing with Moby.
The funny thing about that show was, so Moby, like at the time, and he still is, but is like my mother's favorite artist, right? And I don't know if you remember meeting my mom that night too, that day, but so I bought her tickets to take her to see Moby. It was going to be her first time seeing him live. That was the Animal Rights tour.
I do remember.
And when you got announced, like I'm a huge Moby fan, don't get me wrong, but at the time, comic book horror was the only thing in my CD player, like the only thing. So when you got announced, I just like lost my mind, right? I was like fangirling, like I was like doing this, like in the corner. I couldn't believe you were going to be there. Again, never expecting that I was going to meet you, like never in a million years. Like I didn't even know that would even be an option. But if you remember how we even started talking was I bought your T-shirt, and I saw you at like the table, and I asked you to sign. It was the comic book horror, you with like the ray gun picture, right? And you signed, "Thanks, Brian," and then you wrote a heart and you wrote Jane. And you like were so excited that like, you like, I introduced you to my mom, and it was like her Mother's Day gift, and like you were super psyched that that I bought the T-shirt and that I was there like specifically to see you. And I wrote you a letter, like snail mail letter. Like I found an address and like I think inside comic book horror. And I was like, I don't know if you remember me, but I was the kid at the Moby show with his mom, and I bought the T-shirt and you signed it and you wrote me back. You wrote me back. You're like, I do remember you, Brian. How are you? And this was 97, right? And somehow at some point, I don't know how, but like we exchanged emails, and then we eventually exchanged phone numbers, because then you and I used to talk on the phone, and it's so weird how like going to that show, like as a fan, buying your T-shirt and having you sign it, like now here we are in 2025, talking like this. And, you and I have never really lost touch. I mean, there's been blocks of time, but you and I have really stayed in touch for the last 30 years,
Well, I found that the people that would come to my shows, I felt I had a
Right.
lot in common with. They were coming to see, like, from that weird cover and that kind of left of center music. If they were really into that, I already know that I
Right.
like them too. And so I made a ton of friends because I just find, that a lot of the people that love my music, we're very like-minded. And it's a lot of super, super
Yeah.
creative people, a lot of people that are doing their own music, or they're writers, or they're a lot of people that do art in different ways. So it made sense to me. I could never understand people that were just like, oh God, I'm gonna go sit at the table
Yeah.
and talk to all these people. Like, I just don't get that. But that's probably, that show that you're talking about, probably my
That
favorite
was
all-time
amazing.
show.
I
I
was at the
love that
barrier
show.
looking up at you on stage, and I just couldn't believe, like, you were in front of me playing these songs that I had worn out, for the last 6 or 8 months. Like, it was just I was just like, "Oh, man," it was so amazing. I never in my wildest dreams did I ever think I was gonna meet you that day. But what I found, and because this is like an author talk podcast, I do wanna say that, do you know that when I published my first novel, which is about David from God Lives Underwater, do you know that you were one of the first people? You sent me a MySpace message, because this was MySpace stage. Yeah, you
Nice.
sent me a
MySpace.
MySpace message congratulating me on, like, finishing the novel, and that you were interested in reading it because you knew almost everybody I was talking about in it. Because I talk about, all the industrial.
It's a great
Yeah, and
band,
I just
great
remember
music.
being like, "How cool is this?" Like, Jane Jensen, like, sent me a message unsolicited, like, congratulating me on my first published novel. Like, this is pretty badass, you know? So, like, that always stuck out in my mind too, you know? So,
Was
it
she
just
was she in your top 8?
what's that?
Was she in your top 8? That's a throwback. Remember when you could arrange
Oh,
your
I wanna throw me all the way
Top
right
8.
back there, because that was
you had
so
to
much
earn
fun.
you had to earn your
Like
place. Do you
Yeah,
wanna
MySpace.
be
and
in
the
my
top
top
8
8?
friends. Yeah. Yeah, I know. But yeah, that was that, for someone like me who's always wanted to be an author and always wanted to be a published author and always wanted to, do it for real, like for a career. When the announcement came out that my first book had been published, for like you to, like, unsolicitedly, like, reach out and, like, congratulate me, that was like a big thing for me. Like, that meant a lot. So
Oh,
yeah,
well,
I
I'm
am
glad I
too.
did it. I was really happy about it. I thought it was super cool, and I was really glad that you were taking the time to kind of focus and highlight on his life and his
Yeah, that
interesting
was
music.
I was in a, I was in a really dark place after he died, like, because I didn't know what to do with that grief
Yeah.
because we had become so close, and, his drug
Mhm.
addiction had spiraled out of control, so when he died, I just didn't know what to do, like, I didn't know where to plug that, and I became self-destructive, and somebody was worried about me, said, "Hey, you want to be a writer, or you are a writer, or you want to be an author, why don't you write about it?" Never in my wildest dreams realizing that that would be the springboard to my author career, like writing a book about his death. So it's crazy how the universe sets things up, and then
Yeah.
And here you are
many
now,
books
many books
later, I
later.
know. Book number 12 coming out at Frightreads. So,
Oh.
yeah, you know.
Oh boy.
Is it coming? It's gonna
Yeah,
be
so my
released that
book,
day?
yeah, my
That
12th
time? Oh, great.
overall novel, release day is the first day of Frightreads. So, yeah, that'll be fun.
Hmm.
So, launching the
I wanna answer
Yeah.
David's question about Oxygen 23. And, David, I see myself doing some more electronic music, but probably not that mellow and chill like Oxygen 23. I don't think so, but I'm definitely down to do more heavy
Are
electronic
you still
music.
in touch with Oxygen 23 was with, another person, right? Who was that with?
That was a, collaboration with Jim Marcus and Van Christie of
Oh,
Die
that's right, that's right, that's
Warsaw.
right. Right.
Yeah, and so, this show I have coming up July 25th for Electronic Saviors Volume 7,
Mhm.
to cure cancer. That's what it's for. We're promoting that album, but I've got a
Yep.
song on it. Jim Marcus's, not Die Warsaw, but his new band Go Fight has a song on it. I'll be playing with him and Saphira V and Red Locust and DJ Vegan in Black, and I think it's Intersperse is the let's see. I don't know. Anyway, that's going to be July 25th. And yes,
Cool.
I'm in
Yeah,
touch
I
with
just
them.
bought that compilation on Bandcamp when you announced it on your Facebook. Yeah.
Oh, you
So
did?
yeah,
Oh, great.
and yeah, I like the Oxygen 23 album is, like you said, it's really mellow. It's definitely, it's a different tone.
I think Enchant is probably the most similar thing that I've done to that work, and I probably won't do more like that. But thanks for asking, David.
Well, we got another the
You
old
never know.
controversy.
Never say never.
We got some controversy from Michael here. Streaming versus buying, because I have I think we can kind of speak on that too, because even with the ebook versus tangible physical copy,
Right.
like the Kindle Unlimited type of things, which is kind of the sort of mostly the same thing.
Well, let me hear what you guys think about it.
So my stance on it, and I have a bunch of friends in bands. I see when they get their royalty checks of 0.008 cents after 10 million streams or whatever the payout is. It's really it's not paying the bills. You need to be at a Metallica level of streaming where everybody across the globe is streaming your songs constantly to make any money.
Or you could be like U2 and just throw your album into everybody's iPhone.
Just force it into everybody's album. Hello, I'm Bono, and here's our album. Enjoy. Yeah, so I advocate for both, because the same argument can be made for, for books, when you can download the electronic book through, an unlimited service where you can just read all the books you want, but the author gets peanuts, essentially, in the grand scheme of things. They might make $1 if they're lucky. The fact that you are getting exposed to this person, you're viewing their material, their work, listening to their album, their singles, whatever they're creating, is great, but the payoff has to come out somewhere else. If you are a fan of this person, you're not to say taste testing, but you want to actually be invested in this author. Say I read one of Brian's books, and that was unlimited Kindle or something, and he made 38 cents off of it. If I see him at an event, hopefully the turnaround is that I buy 2 or 3 of his paperbacks and get to meet him and get signatures and, lose my mind. The same as it is for music. I hope that, I came from the Napster, LimeWire era. Everybody got the Family Virus that was supposed to be Limp Bizkit or Linkin Park song, but it was a virus. We all came from that era, but at the same time, hopefully you went out and purchased the tangible real album. Hopefully, if that band came into town, whether you streamed it or however you procured the music, hopefully in person you supported them. You bought some band t-shirts, you bought a vinyl or something goofy that you can't get anywhere else. You met the band and had a good experience at their concert. That's what I hope is, the perfect utopian answer. Not everybody does that. People will just continue to stream, never go anything further, or, worst case, steal the material, which I don't advocate for. It happens, but at least physically support the artist that you are enjoying in some capacity. That's I would have to say streaming versus the physical. It's hard to say physical these days because we're just running out of room, and the devices no longer really do these things anymore. I don't even have a CD player in my car. So the only option is
the DeLorean has a cassette player.
Well, the DeLorean has like an 8-track and probably a record player in there.
And it works. I have the original stock Craig radio cassette player in the DeLorean.
But
I will look for a cassette of the Dolls.
If you have a cassette of your stuff, we are blasting it out of the DeLorean. That's all I'm saying.
Do it. But yeah, that's kind of my take on it. Is as long as you're supporting the creator of the content, that way they can continue to make more content, because the last thing you want to do is bankrupt your favorite band or your favorite author, and they can't tangibly continue to create. Find some way to support them. What do
That's
you
why
got,
I,
Brian?
I pretty much exclusively get all my music from Bandcamp now, because it goes
Yeah,
right to the artist.
right to the band.
Even Amazon, if you're downloading, buying if you're buying the MP3 album from Amazon, it's better than streaming or stealing it, right? But
Yeah.
like you and I know, Amazon's cut to
Bezos takes his cut, man. You got to pay for the new rocket.
Right. I only make like 67 cents on the dollar, I think, with each ebook.
And that the rest of that money helped put Katy Perry in space.
Right.
I hope you know that.
So
Your book.
I like
Over in space.
Bandcamp. I like Bandcamp because I know that like the artist is getting, the most money they can get.
Yeah. That's what I tried to do too. If I'm buying if I want something from an artist, I look
Right.
for it on Bandcamp, and hopefully it's there. That's where I buy most of my music. If I'm casually checking something out because someone asked me to, I will probably stream it. If I'm listening to, my old favorite 80s hits, I'm probably going to stream those, because I also, I no longer have my CD collection. And David, I see you say, I hear the kids are buying CDs again now. I have a friend who's a masterful mastering engineer, and that's his professional job. And he says that CDs, the way that they're mastered, are really sonically the best quality sound available if you're an audiophile.
So that and maybe vinyl.
I don't know how accurate that is, but I tend to take him at what he
I would say vinyl would
suggests.
have a good sound.
But it doesn't mean I'm going to run out and start
Right.
collecting CDs again,
Oh,
unfortunately.
darn.
And I also don't have a CD player in my car or in my computer. And I've moved enough that I just, you start letting things go after a while.
Yeah, the physical media is the first to go. And that's the other problem too, is the only thing you should, I started to reduce my movie collection. And then you realize, oh crap, this movie isn't available anywhere. And thank God I kept my copy. Not that it's, now he's got the rights back and can put it out, but I had the movie Dogma, which was available nowhere because it was in a legal hell. And Kevin Smith finally this year got his movie back. And he's actually, as we speak, I think this past weekend, it was the 25th. God, my heart, everything just felt old real quick. The 25th anniversary of Dogma. It might be 2025, something like that. It's a milestone year. But he's showing it up at Smodcastle up there in Jersey. And what a moment. But imagine if he never got the rights back. There's a bunch of movies that just you can't find. What was one? There was one that I was looking for. I know Drop Dead Fred's hard to find. I know you have it, Brian.
Mm-hmm.
But Drop Dead Fred sometimes is hard to find, and that was a great.
Well, do you have it on VHS, or you have it on?
I have a digital copy of it.
Yeah, because I know you have it, but because I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, okay, respect. But there's.
I also have Attack of the Killer Refrigerator, so I don't know how much respect I need from the beginning.
So it came up in.
Yes. Oh, I have to throw this in because Interface is the awesome other band that is playing Electronic Saviors Cancer for the Cure benefit in Chicago at Bourbon on Division, July 25th. It's Interface fun with me.
Yeah, but there was a movie that we had read a book by author Christina Henry, who did really dark Alice in Wonderland, and she does a lot of the old Disney tropes, the Little Mermaid and Peter Pan, but makes them super dark. And I was just in the mood to watch one of the few Alice in Wonderlands that has the Jabberwock inside of it. And it's one from the 80s where, it had everybody in it. It had Red Buttons, Patrick Duffy, John Stamos was in it. It's just got like Carol Channing has a great musical number, and it is not available anywhere. Even Bezos's huge library of stuff, not available. and I've never been able to find it anywhere. I have a bootleg copy from the 80s that my parents recorded off of the VCR, and it's from like 86, I think, 85, 86. And it has the original like Colgate commercials in it. It's just surreal. But I managed to find a DVD of it at FYE or somewhere ages ago, and now the movie's just disappeared. And it's one of the best. It's a little two-part made-for-TV deal, so it's wild that you never know what you should hang on to, and it's just what a risk.
Right.
You have to downsize, but what do you
Yeah.
downsize?
If we lose our connection to the cloud, then
Yeah,
I do want to talk about like Frightreads, right? So the weekend that we're all going to be together, right? The three of us in a room together.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen. The three of us in a DeLorean. So you're going to kind of you're going to try to set up a trauma corner or trauma aisle or trauma land. Right?
The correct phrase is Tromaville.
Tromaville, right? Tromaville.
Yeah, I was actually talking to the folks from TROMA this past weekend. Those guys have a good slice of real estate that they can set up that has, I mean, the whole videography, everything that you're looking for, things that you weren't even looking for, you'll find. Things that you tried to avoid, you will find. They have everything there. They had Toxie standing there with his little mop doing his thing. They usually get some characters you could take photos with. They're actually going to be given a good chunk of space to sell their wares and offer their photo op, which, Jane, you can obviously slide into and take advantage of, and Lloyd's going to do the same because that's his, it'll be his space. But we're going to set it up in such a way that both of you can do photos and maybe even joint photos if you hash something out, at the event. But it'll be just this entire block. I've been trying to track down Monique Dupree, who was in some of the 90s and 2000s and later films like what was it? Class of Nukem High 2. So she was in a couple of the I call it the second wave of TROMA. Try to get her to join you guys and just try to make a little TROMA corner. That'll be pretty cool. Unfortunately, it won't be near the DeLorean. So if Jane's not at her booth, go look at the DeLorean. The driver's seat.
If I can't find Jane, I'll just look in the car and be like, "Oh, there she is." Oh, that makes sense. So I do know your voice is killing you, and we've hit the hour mark. But I do want one last question from me that kind of ties why we're even here talking. I don't think and as long as I've known you, I don't think I've ever heard the story of how you became Juliet in that movie. Like, how did you even get that role? You know what I mean? Like, what's the steps that happened for you to be in that film?
Yes. That was, it was no accident. It was, I had just moved to New York and was definitely, I studied music and theater in Chicago and was going to New York to state my case and make it happen. And so I didn't have any representation. I didn't have an agent or a manager. So I was at this stage, and actors know before you have representation, you're just looking at any kind of breakdowns you can get your hands on and looking for auditions. And so I did a few independent film, some small things. And I did some small things in Indianapolis and Chicago before I left. But I saw this TROMA Films, and my brother-in-law at the time had already told me about this film company in New York called TROMA Films, and it was the last real independent film company. And their films were so bizarre, and they were, he kind of created legend around TROMA before I ever met TROMA face to face. I was aware of them, and I was like, wow, they're doing a brand new movie. I got to audition for this. So from there, then I did my homework about TROMA and TROMA Films, and I went to do the audition, but I wrote a monologue called Everything I Ever Needed to know I learned in Tromaville, based on the everything I ever needed to know I learned in kindergarten. And then I went and I went to the video store, and I before I went in for my audition, I rented every Troma film I could find, and made little references in my monologue to the films that I just built them into the monologue, and they liked it a lot.
Nice.
They
Well, I mean,
liked it a lot.
obviously the
I
movie
think
happened, so they must have.
the movie did happen. Yeah. I got the role. So it wasn't like I fell into it. I really, really tried to. I really stuck my neck out for that voice.
No, it's great.
I'm just kidding. It was such a blast. It was probably one of the more fun summers that I've ever had.
So I have to give that movie a rewatch, and I gotta sucker my wife into watching it because we watched we've only watched one other Troma film together, and that was Bloody Hook. And that's a movie. It's a weird movie.
You don't have to get through a whole movie.
You don't.
It's okay if you don't. Some of them are really hard to get
movies
through.
together.
It's just the novelty.
We watch movies together as a group, and like I built during the pandemic an entire outdoor theater so we could still like watch movies together, but outside. So it was one of the movies that we decided to give the group watch. But I think I'm gonna have to wrangle everybody up, and we'll watch Romeo and Juliet, and gotta watch Cannonball Run because we have one of the stars from Cannonball Run there. A lot of old school movies we're gonna have to just cycle through, and I think we'll all just have a blast being fresh and ready to go before the festival and talk to everybody all about their movies.
Yeah.
I
know my head of security, Steve, is a fan of yours, so I might need security for security.
Someone's going to be watching Steve the whole night.
Yeah, who watches The Watchmen? Who watches Steve? But yeah, he's a good guy. He's excited. I don't know who he's going to bounce around to first. It's going to be either he's got to get something from Cannonball Run or something from you. I don't know where he's headed first, but I know he's excited. So I know a lot of my staff are like, yeah.
Is Jane
flying
in on? She's flying in on Friday. Is that when you're flying her in?
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, depending on how much the event Saturday and Sunday. Yeah. So I mean, depending on what time you land and how much luggage you're coming with, I might be able to pick you up in the DeLorean at the airport.
She can only have like a little 2x2 bag.
No, there's enough room, but it depends on how much it is.
That would be
then
so
what we could do is
amazing.
then I could drop her off at the hotel, and then I could bring the car over to Frightreads and then stage it from there.
Yeah.
Right, because you're going to be there Friday night setting up, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, if I pick her up in the DeLorean and then drop her off, and then I can then drop the car off, because I think I'm going to stay in the hotel too. I don't think I'm going to go home that weekend. I'll just probably get a room at the hotel.
It's probably a good call. Save you a drive.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of
blast.
Fun.
I mean, I'm looking at this year is going to be, we've almost quintupled the amount of space that we have usually. Everybody's building bigger displays. We're going bigger and better. It's going to be a blast.
You're going to be screening movies all day long on Saturday?
Allegedly, yeah.
So yeah, and my daughter you might be showing my daughter's film.
I might be. I'm
Brian, I don't know if I know.
So yeah, Annalise is going to film school. She's going to college to be a director. She wants to be a horror movie director. Did you see my post of her meeting John Carpenter?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, she got like a one-on-one with John Carpenter at a convention last month. Like he pulled her aside to talk to her, like
gave her a whole talk.
Yeah, like a 7-minute talk away from the crowd. Like he had hundreds of people at his booth waiting to get autographs, and he pulled her aside and had like a one-on-one chat with her. Yeah. Pretty wild. Yeah.
Wow. These kids grow up fast,
I know.
Brian.
So now she's making movies. She had a movie, win an award in DC at a small little movie film festival, and she's been in some horror films where she's like actually in the credits. So she has an In It Movie Database profile now, and she's actually like working on films and stuff. So
Yeah, well, I know we're gonna have
That's-
I know we have Things Forsaken is gonna be playing their Faces of the Undead. We're gonna have something from Absurd Pictures Productions. I think we're gonna do Blood and Breakfast again, unless they get another one of their movies up and ready for us. But looking to have about 4, maybe 5 films if time permits. We'll have your daughters in the mix somewhere, and hopefully there's a huge crowd and they can all cheer and applaud and
Yeah.
enjoy the film.
She'll feel like it'll be good for her. Yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah.
So.
Well, this has been a fun adventure. I'm glad both of you guys were able to jump in because Brian's a wealth of knowledge with everything you do. I was like, I'm gonna need you in here because I know you have like this insane knowledge of like the deep cuts, B-sides, rarities, things that were just written on a notepad or a napkin in a restaurant. He knows about it. So I'm glad you were able to dive in here. But if anybody's looking to answer sort of one of the questions that went by earlier, somebody asked if we were only in Maryland. Unfortunately, excuse me. Wow. We're all having throat problems today. How about that? Unfortunately, yes, we are only in Maryland, but we're central to BWI Airport. It's just I wouldn't even say a hop, skip, and a jump to our event from there. But we're probably 15-20 minutes from the airport itself. If you want to make a nice vacation out of it, highly recommend it. This is our 5th year, half a decade. That's for conventions and festivals to not just be floundering, like whatever, that's pretty monumental. So it'll be a lot of fun. I highly recommend coming out. We got tickets online on frightreads.com. Read the list of authors we have. Look at the amazing vendors that we have, the special guests that we have, Jane included. There's so many great people. You will absolutely have a blast. I don't think you'll be able to do it all in one day. That's almost a challenge. I don't think you can do everything that we'll be offering in a single day. But definitely come out. Go to frightreads.com to get tickets. Go to Jane Jensen Music to get pretty much every link to everything and check out all the albums and get yourself prepped and ready to go so you can come out in September and be all knowledgeable like Brian here. And of course, we'll plug Brian. It's Brian Paone or Payone or Pony. But check out his latest book, which is These Walls Still Talk. That's coming out next month?
Yeah, the book release party is at the Missouri State Penitentiary with an overnight ghost hunt to follow.
There you go. Pre-order it. Get tickets to go to the event. You can go on a ghost hunt and get a cool book.
Sweet.
Yeah, David Christensen adds that the Poe Museum is there. Yeah, the Poe Museum would actually be about a half hour away from our event. So you could realistically cruise through the Poe Museum and still come see us about 12:30, 1 o'clock and not miss much. So
what a weekend. That sounds like
we
a plan.
have some cool stuff to see out here. You can go to Old Ellicott City, which is just around the corner, and do some spooky stuff. There's a lot. There's so much. So if you are planning to come out here, definitely Google up some local attractions and have yourself a hell of a weekend. But Jane, thank you so much.
Can I just once more? I just want to July 25th in Chicago, Bourbon on Division with Interface, Go Fight, Saphira V, DJ Vegan in Black, and then we're also doing an event at the Museum of Post-Punk and Industrial Music, a VIP special event, all to raise money for cancer, for Electronic Savior 7, and also Red Locust will be playing.
That's going to be an awesome show.
Yeah,
if I was available that day, I would 100% be interested to go. So thank you very much for your.
Yeah, wait for September, guys. It's going to be a fantastic time.
Oh, yeah.
I'm super happy and excited to be there. It'll be wonderful to reunite with all of my old TROMA
It'll be
buddies.
a blast, and I'm looking forward to pull all the TROMA people together. It'll be a lot of fun. But thank you very much for taking your time out, Brian. Thanks a lot. And we will see you guys next week for the next video. Thank you so much.